Hello aspirants, looking at current affairs for 26th Feb, Sunday. The news items that we have picked up from the Hindu newspaper are these 15. We'll look at them in detail. The first one, pests eat away 35% of total crop yield, says ICAR scientist, Indian Council of Agricultural Research. So here it has been estimated that out of the annual crop yield in India, 30 to 35% is wasted because of pests. And the most significant among these pests is the nematodes. So nematodes means roundworms, threadworms, eelworms, which are there. So they have emerged as a major threat to crops in the country. They cause a loss of 60 million tons of crops annually. So these are microscopic worms. So this, if crop loss takes place to such an extent, then it is affecting our food security in the country too. So agricultural biosafety is important. So that is what is being highlighted through this. One example is also given of potato cyst nematode. So this was first discovered in the Nilgiris and now has spread to various parts of the country. So these pests spreading throughout the country are affecting the crop yield, the agricultural biosafety, and consequently our food security. Then the next news item is lowdown on the TCS buyback offer. So TCS, Tata Consultancy Services, is planning a buyback offer. Now, what do you mean by this buyback offer? Means the companies bring out shares, equities. So what are these shares? People buy them. So that is a large amount of shareholders. They are investing in the company through these shares. So now the company wants to buy back these shares. So why does a buyback take place actually? Is generally what happens is the company, means if the company is buying back, means it has a huge amount of money with which it will buy back these shares. So presently what TCS is planning, this is said to be India's biggest buyback offer till date. So it will buy back 5.61 crore equity shares, which will cost around 2,850 per share. So this will be the rate at which it will buy back these shares. It is equivalent to 2.85% of the company's total equity. So it's a small percentage. If you look at the total shares, which it's out of the total shares, only 2.85% will be brought. But how much are there? These 5.61 crore. As such, 2.85% would be equivalent to these crores, and this is the price for per share. So that means the company has actually so much amount of money, and if it has money, how would it pay back to its, this price at which it is being sold is actually a price higher than the market price. Otherwise, why would people sell off their shares? So presently the last listed price on the stock exchange is also mentioned here. So here it is mentioned as 2,506.50. So this was the closing price on Feb 20, and it has decided to buy at 2,850. So it's a 13.7% premium, the difference here. So that is why people would sell their shares back to TCS. So these many number of shares it will buy and then it would stop. So this buyback offer is another way of paying premium to their shareholders. Means this premium is a form of reward. Otherwise, the other form of reward which can be there is dividend being paid to the shareholders. Means when the company profits, the shareholders also get a part of the profit. So that dividend payment, when that takes place on shares, then there is a dividend distribution tax. This has to be paid to the government, and this is at a rate of more than 20% on companies. So this is the rate of tax which has to be paid, and the individuals also will have to pay a tax, a 10% tax if dividend received by them is more than 10 lakhs. So means shareholders will also be coughing out money, and the company will also be coughing out money as tax to the government. So this is another way. If you buy back, then you are putting in your money also, plus the shareholders are also being rewarded because a high premium is being paid, and the company also does not have to pay the dividend distribution tax. So this is what has been announced presently. So you can see also how will it be buying back, because it is said that TCS has cash with it. So it has a cash pile of more than 38,000 crores as on December 31, 2016. So this is how it will be buying back, so that it doesn't have to pay taxes. So this is because of the tax rules in India. Right? So that is that. Then the next news item is why India needs the rubella vaccine. So India has eliminated polio. Elimination of polio took place around 6 years ago. Then maternal and neonatal tetanus has also been eliminated. Yaws has been eliminated. These two were eliminated in 2016 itself, that India was declared yaws free. So yaws is also a disease. You can see it's an infectious disease caused by this bacteria. It affects the skins, bones, cartilages, joints. So this bacterial disease has been eliminated from India. And now we have target of eliminating measles and congenital rubella syndrome. So these are caused by the rubella virus. So these two have to be eliminated by 2020 is the target which India has set for itself. And that is why we are introducing rubella vaccine. So in the country's immunization program, this is the first time that rubella vaccine has been included. It will be piggybacked with the measles elimination program. Means same with measles, rubella would also be given together. So measles is highly infectious, and this rubella is a mild viral infection. It mainly occurs in children. So measles is one of the major killer diseases for children. So you can see number of deaths globally and even in India have been quite high. So according to World Health Organization, to a single dose of rubella vaccine can give 95% long-lasting, more than 95% long-lasting immunity. So rubella vaccine is a mild viral infection. It can be easily tackled with the vaccine. So this vaccine has been introduced. The only producer of this vaccine in India is this Pune-based Serum Institute of India. So that is why, since it's the only manufacturer, it will be introduced in phases. So the first phase has been started off. By 18 months, the entire country would be covered with this rubella vaccine as well. So this is there. So the term here given was congenital rubella syndrome, CRS. So this congenital means at the time of birth basically. So this is when the virus is, the person affected is during the pregnancy. In early stage of pregnancy, rubella virus is the infection which the woman has, then there are 90% chances that it would be transmitted to the fetus, and it can cause hearing impairments, eye and heart defects, even brain damages in newborns. It may result in abortion and fetal deaths. So that is why this vaccine is important. That is there. This is about congenital rubella syndrome. Then this is regarding measles, highly contagious viral infection. It affects the throat, airway, lungs, skin because of this rubella virus. Mumps is acute viral disease, and rubella is also a viral disease, but it can affect people of any age group. So when pregnant women get infected by this rubella virus, it causes congenital rubella syndrome as well. Then the next news item is why the barren island volcano erupts again. So this is regarding the Barren Island volcano, which has erupted again. It has been recorded. So it is the only active volcano in the country. It is located in the Andaman and Nicobar group of islands. It's an uninhabited island, and it is allowed to be visited by tourists. So Andaman and Nicobar Island is a tourist place. So tourists do visit here for even sea adventure as such, water adventures. So this Barren Island volcano, its eruption, it is a very mild level. So it's not a violent eruption which actually takes place, but yes, lava does come out. It is around 140 kilometers from Port Blair, which is the capital of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. As it says, it is a tourist destination. It's surrounded by waters, ideal for scuba diving. So it has a number of wide variety of aquatic life as well. So island is open to visitors with prior permission. And as the name suggests, barren, it is barren means it is uninhabited and devoid of any significant vegetation. So that is there. As it says, only active volcano, not just in India, but along the entire chain of volcanoes from Sumatra to Myanmar. So this is the entire chain. So Sumatra is in Indonesia. So Myanmar to Sumatra, the entire chain which is there. And this Barren Island volcano is the only active volcano in this chain. And it is very small. It is uninhabited, 3-kilometer wide island. And it contains a roughly 2-kilometer wide caldera. So caldera is a volcanic crater. So it's actually a volcanic mountain. It's the summit. You can see it's an emergent summit of a volcano. Means it is in island. Means it is underwater. So it's the top. Summit means the top of the mountain. So this is the emerging from the water. Emergent summit. And the crater actually means a shallow hollow which is formed. So when volcanic eruption takes place, the top of it breaks down. So an image is also shown here. You can see. So this is the caldera. So when the top of the mountain, it breaks up and forms into a hollow here. So this is actually a cross section shown. It's complete circle actually. So this is called a caldera. So it's a 3-kilometer wide island, barren island, and it has a 2-kilometer wide caldera. So you can understand how it is, this barren island. So it's there. And the first recorded volcanic eruption of Barren Island volcano dates back to 1787. And after that, it has erupted around 5 times over the next 100 years. It was silent for a century. So since then, it means 1887 to a century. Till 1987, till actually 1991, there was nothing. No activeness was there, no activity, no volcanic eruption. Then in 1991, it spewed so massively that smoke billowed out for 6 months. So smoke was coming out from the volcano for 6 months. And since then, every 2 to 3 years, eruptions have taken place. This is Feb 2017. The last eruption was in Feb 2016. So this continuity of eruptions presently is also a cause of concern, as scientists say. This may mean that there is underlying stress and pressure, and it may have a major eruption also at a later stage. Presently, what eruptions are taking place are very low on the scale. This is volcanic explosivity index. So it is at a range from 1 to 8. Based on the quantity of volcanic material which is spewed, it's coming out, the strength with which it is coming out. So it is scaled. On this scale, present eruption is also 2, at number 2, from 1 to 8. So that is what it is said, that these are mild eruptions, not dangerous eruptions, but can result into a catastrophic eruption. Even these mild eruptions are dangerous for the animal species. Many bird species have also been eliminated, reduced from, and their population have reduced here because of these volcanic eruptions at this low scale also taking place. So this is these are the types of volcanoes. So when only a line, it's not a mountain but only a line as such. So understand, this is just the cross section. There is landmass here too, but when this line of eruption takes place, when this molten material is inside, it is called magma. When it comes out, it becomes lava. So these are the two terms, magma and lava. Fissure means one rift is there, means one opening is there. So from that opening, when lava is coming out, it is gently coming out. It will not spurt out with very much force. So this gentle basaltic slope of lava is formed, that is seen. Then this is a shield volcano. So this a shield volcano, you can see there will be a gentle slope of basaltic lava flow here. Then this is a dome volcano, means a complete dome is formed. You can see this is gentle slope. This is like a dome. So this dome volcano is there. Then this is ash cinder volcano. So this cinder, you can see, are intermittent lines here of cinder. So cinder and ash means the volcanic material along with ash. This is coming out from the vent. So ash and cinder mix is there. Then this is composite volcano. So composite volcano, you can see there are branch pipes also here along with ash and cinder. Then this is a caldera volcano. So this results in a huge hollow being formed at the top. When the entire this structure collapses because of the eruption, the entire top collapses, it forms this hollow. So this is called caldera volcano. So cinder basically means small pieces of coal or wood which is burning. It is like burning hot. So that is there. These cinders are there. Ash and cinder mixed. And ash is very fine ash, you can understand. Then this is Barren Island. You can see in the Andaman group of islands, you have North Andaman Island, Middle Andaman, South Andaman, and Little Andaman. So these are 4 major islands. And this is the Barren Island located here. From Port Blair, this is the distance. The next news item is, there is more to come in the CRISPR story. So this CRISPR Cas9, we have discussed this earlier too. This is used for gene editing. Means this is easily the required gene can be cut and a new gene be pasted. So this is a cut and paste method which has been discovered. So this is there. It's not a discovery, it's actually an invention, because the Cas9 is an enzyme which is used. CRISPR here stands for clustered regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats. So this is the name given as such. So this CRISPR Cas9 technique has been demanded to be patented. So presently the patenting has been done in USA. So US Patent and Trademark Office USPTO. This has issued its verdict, and the intellectual property right battle which was going on between Broad Institute and University of California, Berkeley, has been resolved for USA now. In Europe, still the battle is going on. So it has been awarded to Broad Institute. This gene editing technique can be used by them in eukaryotic cells. So there are 2 types of cells. Prokaryotic cells are the earliest form of cells in earliest, simple organisms, prokaryotic organisms. And eukaryotic cells are the cells, the major in human cells are also eukaryotic cells. So CRISPR Cas9 technique can be used by them in eukaryotic cells. This has been patented. patent has been provided to Broad Institute. So this is Broad Institute of Harvard and MIT in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So this battle has started in 2012. So in 2012, this University of California, Berkeley, it brought out this CRISPR-Cas9 technique, and it outlined it that it can be used to precisely cut and isolate DNA. Isolated DNA can be precisely cut with this. So this had been understood, but then this Broad Institute implemented it and showed that how it could be adapted to edit DNA in eukaryotic cells such as plants, animals, and humans. So this was their implementation. So this was just the technique shown that cutting isolated DNA is possible with this, and they showed it on eukaryotic cells. So they have won. Broad Institute has won this patent in USA. So what they say is the technique has already been used on a wide scale. It is used in genetic research by scientists all over. They have developed disease-resistant livestock and treatments for human diseases using this. So that already research is going on all this. But then both teams are demanding that this patent be provided. Berkeley argues that because Berkeley's patent for CRISPR-Cas9 technique is also under hearing. So if the US Patent Office gives its judgment on that too, and general CRISPR-Cas9 patent is provided to Berkeley, then it says that we have a right to have this patent for eukaryotic cells also, because it's the first discovery was by us. So first we have our permission is also required. So if anybody wants to use this CRISPR-Cas9 technique on eukaryotic cells, so if it is provided to Broad Institute, they have to take permission from us as well. So then only they can use it, because what is patent means that they have the exclusive right to use this, and if they want, they can sell this right to anybody else at a charge. So you are the only owner. So, and this is a very prominent technique having huge potential. So this is a huge patent fight. So still the battle can go on, appeals can be made by Berkeley. So we'll have to wait and watch if there's more to this story too in USA. While in Europe also similarly patents have been filed, and battle is going on over there too for patent rights. So it's country-based patent which is provided. Already another thing which is said is this CRISPR-Cas9 technique relies on this Cas9 enzyme which is used to cut the DNA. Already scientists have found an alternative enzyme too. So this alternative enzyme is CPF1. So this enzyme is also simpler to use and more accurate than Cas9 too. For this also patent has been filed by Broad Institute already. So this is what is going on presently. So other enzymes may also be used. So still reports of those are also coming in. So this is the recent research and status in genetic editing or genetic engineering which is going on. So this is the DNA editing technique. This we have seen multiple times, I suppose now. CRISPR-Cas9, it has been quite often in use when we have done SNT based articles. So this is there. This is an isolated DNA. So from that, this part can be cut, removed, and this another part can be pasted here. So this is a cut and paste technique. So this is very much beneficial for genetic editing. Then the next news item is Darknet robust for lack of rich clubs. So this is regarding Darknet. Now what is Darknet? You should understand that this is the entire net which we know. So ClearNet, the internet which we know is this. ClearNet is highly accessible content via social media or by search engines. So that is called ClearNet. So Bing, Google, all these search engines, whatever information they give to us, which are open to all of us, is ClearNet or the internet which we understand. But there are other things as well. So there's something called deep web. So these are sites that are intentionally requesting that they should be skipped over by such search engines. So that is, they require credentials for access. So these are called deep web. So this you can see, they are deep, hidden down under. Then there is Darknet. So what is this Darknet? This article is on Darknet. So sites that are intentionally hidden and require specialized browsers for anonymous access. That is called Darknet. So they cannot be accessed by these normal browsers. There are specialized browsers like Tor, I2P, which are required for the access, and it is anonymous access, meaning it will not be known who accessed what as such. So this is Darknet. So these are there. So we should understand all three of these. So presently this article is regarding Darknet. So it says Darknet is more robust, means it is more safe against security breaches than the internet, because there's lack of rich clubs. So what does this rich club means? That Darknet does not have this core. So internet has a core, highly centralized hubs. So this you can see, internet is highly centralized around hubs. So these are highly connected nodes which are very interconnected with each other. Means if any one of them is also affected, others get affected, and the internet functioning may be severely affected. So this darknet is highly decentralized as contrast to internet. So this, because it is highly decentralized, even if one node does not work amongst the connected nodes, others will continue functioning, and that can be taken care of. So that is why this is said to be much more robust. And this darknet has also been created in early 1990s by US agencies only, defense purposes, like the way internet was also created. This is Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, DARPA, and Office of Naval Research. So this, they use darknet. Darknet can be used by others also. It is resistant to eavesdropping and traffic analysis. So that cannot take place through this. It cannot be accessed by the normal search engines which we have. So these onion routers are used. They're called Tor or Freenet project. These routers are used to access the darknets. These are special browsers, ensuring anonymity of the surfer as well as the service provider. That is there. They're majorly used for defense establishments. They're also used by journalists who want to keep utmost secrecy of what information they are passing and who is it passing from and to whom. Plus also it is used by criminals. So it's a technology. It can be made use by anybody. So this is regarding the darknet. If you have the router, onion router, that you can access it. So that is regarding. So this presently it is in use, and a study is being made. So research analysis is showing that this is much more robust, and it can be safeguarded from security breaches or instabilities which we see, systemic instabilities which we see in the internet. And the major reason is because it is highly decentralized. It does not have a centralized core. Then the next news item is black rhinos on the brink of extinction. So this is regarding the African black rhinos. They are on the verge of extinction because their genetic variation is highly compromised. That is genetic diversity. So 70% of the species genetic diversity has been erased. So when genetic diversity erases, then the population cannot survive for long. So population survival depends, the reproduction depends a lot on the genetic variation. So if there's low genetic diversity, then ability to survive of the survival rate of the species becomes very low. And these rhinos have come to this stage because of the high amount of price which is there on the rhino horns, for which they are poached and killed. So that is the reason why presently the genetic diversity has drastically reduced. So once they were roaming throughout sub-Saharan Africa, major part of Africa, presently they are restricted to 5 countries only, the black African rhinos. Then the next news item is family planning deaths must not go unpunished. So family planning basically means that a couple deciding how many children do they wish to have, means how many pregnancies the woman would undergo. So to ensure that the pregnancies are limited or the number of children born are limited, various contraceptive techniques are used, and permanent contraception which is there. There are 2 techniques. It can be on men or on women, tubectomy and vasectomy. So tubectomy is done on women and vasectomy on men. So these operations are done, but in India majorly it is tubectomy which is done on women, and especially poor women in these poor states where the population rate is also high. When the population growth rate is high, so the total fertility rate as it is said. So you can understand this. This is the fallopian tube of the woman. So here this is the ovary. The egg lies here. So this, through the fallopian tube, the fertility takes place. The sperm goes in through this. So when this fallopian tube is cut, then it results, it's bent, or any way it is done. If the surgery is done, then it is called tubectomy. So in this, then the woman would not get pregnant. And vasectomy is this vas deferens. So this, if this is cut, then again the sperm cannot be coming in, and it's causing sterility in males and sterility in females. So this is permanent sterilization taking place, majorly permanent. Sometimes if it is bent or something, then it can be removed also. But what India undertakes, it is almost permanent sterilization which takes place. So this is targeted in majorly these focus states: Bihar, Jharkhand, MP, Chhattisgarh, UP and Rajasthan. So these are called Bimaru states also, as negative acronym which is there: Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand and UP. So, and Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand have come out from Bihar and MP, Chhattisgarh a part of MP earlier and Jharkhand a part of Bihar earlier. They formed as independent states in the year 2000. So number of tubectomies conducted, you can see this is data for 2011-12. The total fertility rate which is there means number of pregnancies. This is a statistical figure, so it cannot be 0.5 number of pregnancies, but it's a figure through calculation. So this is the number of pregnancies a woman would undergo in her lifetime. So in these regions, the total fertility rate is high. So we want our target of total fertility rate nationally is 2.1. That is what we need to achieve. So these are much high. So to bring them down, tubectomies are conducted, and this you can see tubectomies per day at this rate are also conducted in these states to bring down the fertility rate in the states. So in these, many women die, and when they die too, there are insurance insured. Of course, they are paid money to, for which they are ready to undertake these operations. So this is what goes on, and what all this is fine, but what is the question here majorly is there are instances when these women die. So there are these camps which are conducted, and in these camps when operations are undertaken, these tubectomy operations, they are undertaken with so much haste and so much of targets which have to be fulfilled are such that it results in deaths as well. So this is the case in India. So this was the first case which had come forth before the Supreme Court. That was in 2005, when Supreme Court had set out directions also on this. The sterilization camps, how should they be, and how for this tubectomy and vasectomy operations should be undertaken. So this was Ramakant Rai case of 2005. So it was after photographs of women undergoing tubectomies, it was shown that they are lying on straw on the floor and they have blood-stained sarees. So there are targets because the government sets up targets that these many tubectomies have to be undertaken, and the doctors, surgeons there have to fulfill these targets. So to fulfill these targets, there are so many tubectomies operations undertaken in one day itself, in such little time. So how careful is it done to ensure that the woman's life is also at stake? So if something goes wrong, many have injuries and many die also. So that is why regulation was required here, and in this case, Supreme Court set out its directions. It said that qualification of empaneled doctors have to be ensured. Physical examination of the woman should be there before the operation. Informed consent is required. There should be quality assurance committees that should be set up, and insurance policy should be there, as we saw right now, that if the deaths or any injury takes place, then there should be insurance there for them. Compensation needs to be provided, and if there is any death, an inquiry should be held after every death which is there. So these were the directions by the Supreme Court in 2005 under this Ramakant Rai case. But of course, nothing happened on this, and these directions were ignored. And in 2012, there was this Devika Biswas case which was filed before the Supreme Court by this social activist. So in this in 2012, this case, it said that 61 women were operated on at an abandoned school at night in Bihar. So this news had shocked the world then in 2012, and the Supreme Court in its petition, it was brought forth that such stories, horror stories, are there in other states going on as well, not just Bihar. So Maharashtra, Rajasthan, MP, all these UP, all these states, you can see there are similar stories. So that is why Supreme Court was hearing this case, and in September 2016, Supreme Court criticized government for the manner in which these sterilization camps are run, and threatened that it will stop all sterilization operations as such in all the rural areas. So this was the statement of the Supreme Court. On this, the Union government had assured that it would phase out all such sterilization camps. This was 2016 order, and in 2014 actually an incident took place which again shocked India and the world. So this is another case of 2014, the Chhattisgarh incident. So this had been quite a rude shock. So this was in 2014, a surgeon and an assistant performed over 80 surgeries within 90 minutes at a state-run family planning camp in an abandoned building near Bilaspur in Chhattisgarh. So in this, within 24 hours, many women began complaining of abdominal pain, and 13 women died. 65 others were injured. So this criminal trial had been initiated on the surgeon who conducted this laparoscopic tubectomies which resulted in these deaths, but this was quashed by the Chhattisgarh High Court last week. So this has happened because the state government, because this is a government initiative and the government had appointed the surgeon, the state government refused to grant sanction for prosecution of the surgeon. So this is how the state government also tries to safeguard its employees. And because it's a criminal case which had been initiated, 13 women died. So there needs to be prosecution on this, but prosecution has been squashed. So this is the point on which this present whole article is on. And another point which is highlighted is focus on female sterilization. So this was also mentioned by Devika Biswas in this case which was going on hearing before the Supreme Court. She said that 97% of all sterilization procedures in the country are conducted on women. Means tubectomies are done, vasectomies are not done. 85% of the family planning budget which is there with the government is exclusively for female sterilization. Virtually no attention is paid to male sterilization, and the females suffer. They're risking their lives here. So that is also then another thing she said is that unrealistic targets have been set, resulting in non-consensual, means without consent, and forced sterilization, including the physically and mentally challenged and young people are also being taken in for sterilization without consent. So this is the point which was again highlighted, which is highly shocking and needs action to be taken. And this Chhattisgarh incident again is shocking when the surgeon will not be prosecuted. So we'll see if any further development takes place on this too. This is the laparoscopic tubectomy which is shown. So laparoscope is here, you can see. So this displays the images of the internal organs on the video monitor. So tubectomy taking place with this surgical procedure undertaken is shown. Then the next news item is depression, top cause of disability worldwide. So this is the World Health Organization data which is saying the estimate is that depression is the largest disability in the world. Number of people living with depression has increased by over 18% in the last decade from 2005 to 2015. And over 80% of this disease burden is in developing countries. So there are two forms actually. There is anxiety disorder and depressive disorder. So anxiety disorder can be obsessive compulsive disorders which are there obsessively, like they come again and again, feel their hands are dirty or their body is dirty and they keep washing as such. Post-traumatic stress disorder which is there. So after a trauma, after an accident, the stress which it results into. So this post-traumatic stress disorder is there, or generalized anxiety disorder, or any phobia, social anxiety disorder. So these are various anxiety disorders. So these are mental disorders. And another form is depressive disorders. So depressive disorders can be loss of interest in of pleasure or feeling of guilt, low self-esteem, disturbed sleep, appetite, poor concentration. So these are depressive disorders characteristics, and they are also under two main subcategories. So one is major depressive disorder and a milder one is dysthymia. So this dysthymia is milder depressive disorder. So this is a persistent or chronic form of mild depression, and this is major depressive disorder. So these are the two forms. So these are there in India as well, you can see. And depression is a major contributor of suicide deaths also. So that is why it is a cause of concern. So extreme case, it results in suicides. So depressive disorders in India also, you can see nearly 5% of the population suffers from depressive disorder and 3% of India's population suffers from anxiety disorder. This data is there. This is dysthymia, a less severe type of depression. So it involves long-term continuous symptoms. So they cannot function effectively and they may also experience major depressive episodes at some time in their lives. So that is their mild depression. Then the next news item is, though the net tightens, India remains hub for turtle trade. So India continues to be a source of illegal trade and export of tortoise and freshwater turtles. So such cases of seizures we have discussed earlier too. So 46% of all such seizures takes place in Gangetic Plains. So Lucknow and Kanpur are the major hubs here. Also some poaching takes place in Western Ghats and a little smaller number in Eastern Ghats as well. So these are the major regions and they are important for even the riverine system. So turtles form an important part. They act as scavengers, cleaning up the water bodies, and they are indicators of a river's good health. So this is there. And under the National Mission for Clean Ganga, actually breeding and release of turtles to clean wetlands is targeted. And here we are seeing the other way around, that poaching and trading is taking place along the Gangetic belt of these turtles. Many of them are vulnerable species and many endangered. So species under threat in India. The Indian star turtle these are also there. Illegal trade takes place, even they are poached, exported. Majorly it is export across in Bangladesh. So this, and there is a huge market, international market in Southeast Asian countries and China. So this is how they profit from this illegal trade, and the smuggling continues. Then the next news item is low-cost solar imports from China hurting center's Make in India mission. So this is, we have already discussed this news that solar power tariff has gone record low in India, that is at rupees 2.97 per unit. So this was the reverse auction in Rewa in Madhya Pradesh, which had made headlines. So this reverse auction, in this the power tariff was decided, solar power tariff was decided so low. Means what is this reverse auction to? Means in an auction what takes place is that one who wants to sell a good or a service, that would be put on auction. So in that auction, buyers would bid, and the highest bidder would buy that goods or service. So that is there. But in case of reverse auction, it is not the buyer's bidding but the seller's bidding, and the one who bids the lowest gets the right to sell. So here it is solar power. So solar power is being bid, means government is having these auctions, reverse auctions done, and in this the lowest bidder who says that I will sell it at the lowest price, one wins the bid. So that is called reverse auction. So this is what took place, that wind power, solar power, wind power also we saw recently that wind power tariffs have also gone low in such a similar auction. So this is regarding solar tariffs. So now since they have decided and they have bidded and decided that this is at such a low rate, they would be selling solar power to state power trading corporations. So this, to achieve this, they have to have the costs also low. So have the costs low means the products, solar panels which they will be having in their solar system being established, that should be low. So solar panels actually make up 50% of the cost of the entire system, and these solar panels from China are very cheap. So imports are cheap rather than buying from Indian solar manufacturers. So here, because what happens is even the tax structure presently is in favor of Chinese imports, because on parts, components, that Chinese imports do not have to pay any countervailing duty. So countervailing duty is generally a duty which is imposed, that if the import is very cheap affecting the domestic manufacturers, then a duty is imposed to make them costly as such or at par. So that is a countervailing duty which is generally put up by the government. So it's a government's decision. So here on components, it has not been put up, because of which Chinese imports are attractive. And if that takes place, then it will affect the government's Make in India mission also. So that is what the news is about. And also the drop in quality of inputs can also take place if the costs have to be so low. So that is another factor which has to be taken into consideration when you are having these low cost, low bidding taking place for solar power tariffs. So for this, another provision which should be there is BIS certification should be there. That solar power units, whatever are being brought or used, they should be BIS certified. So that is Indian standards. So this BIS certification will not be sought by Chinese manufacturers. Generally, they would not want to come under Indian quality norms and seek this certification. Then Indian manufacturers will be able to prevail in the market. So if that BIS certification is made mandatory for various components, solar panels, etc., and even this is actually for solar water heaters, where again Chinese imports are dominating. So here is another case. So countervailing duty exemptions on individual components is there. So entire solar water heating system is not under exemption, but countervailing duty exemption is there for individual components. So this also results in China dominating the market, because China has overcapacity. It has produced a lot, more than its requirement. So it will result in exports from China. So earlier it was US dominating, and now China has started taking over USA in solar panel trade. And India is also seeing cheap imports coming from China. So they're costing low too, and India's taxation regime is also favoring them. So that is why these changes are demanded from the government. Example, BIS certification and this countervailing duty exemption should be removed. So that is there. You can see the cost equation. Solar cells in India, how much do they cost, and Chinese. You can see the price differences here. So that is there. And this is how solar cells are put into a solar module. Number of modules become solar panel, a number of panels become solar array, and then this photovoltaic solar system is being established. In countervailing duty, it's an import duty. or a tariff imposed on an importing country to raise the price of subsidized export products. So if they are subsidizing their own product on export, then to offset that low price, a countervailing duty or import duty is imposed. The next news item is Indian Railways mulls new performance index. So this is regarding the present performance index which is there for the Indian Railways, which is operating ratio. So this operating ratio actually means how much of input does the railways put in to get output. So means, for example, presently it's at a 5-year high. So high operating ratio is not good. Means more amount of money has to be put in to get output. Means example is like it by the end of 2016-17 it is estimated it would be 94.9% operating ratio. Means it to earn 100 rupees it has to put in 94.9 rupees. So remaining is the profit. And till December 2016 for this financial year, actually the operating ratio stood at 109%. Means not the full year, but till December 2016. This shows that it was spending more than it was earning. Means it's spending 109 rupees to earn 100 rupees. So that is very abysmal, very high operating ratio. That is not what is required for a functional entity, any organization which is functioning. Of course, it has social obligation, and presently what resulted in this high operating ratio is bringing in or implementation of the 7th pay commission's recommendation. So 7th pay commission, so government pays are hiked or revised, every pay commission revises them. So presently it was the 7th pay commission's recommendations which have been implemented. So this pay hike resulted in this high increase in the operating ratio because inputs increased, salaries increased, and railways is said to be the largest employer, public sector employer in the country. It's the largest employer. So that is why this is a concern now. And low operating ratio is good. It means there is better efficiency. So now what the Indian Railways is trying to have is that this operating ratio is not giving a clear picture. There needs to be a new performance index. So that is why the government is now appointed a committee. Railways has appointed a committee of executive directors, and they will bring out a new metrics, a new entity, a new ratio. It's called a financial ratio, better financial ratio than the operating ratio, that will reflect the correct financial and professional health of the Indian Railways. Because with this measurement, it's not giving a good picture. So there should be another measurement which will give you the correct picture, a better picture. So that is there. It says operating ratio reflects the true reflection of the Indian Railways finances only by the end of the financial year. So it's only the finances which are reflected. So now it is talking of various other provisions which is there, because this is not even the industry standard. It says operating ratio is not the industry standard. So the industry standard is like EBITDA. So EBITDA means earning before interest, tax, depreciation and amortization. So here amortization is the accounting term. So this refers to the process of allocating the cost of an intangible asset over a period of time. So what is the cost of the intangible asset? So that is amortization. So means like repayment of loan principal over time. What is the cost as such involved? So all these earnings which are there before all this, before interest payment or tax payment or depreciation deduction or amortization, before that what is the earnings? So this is a performance indicator which is generally used in the corporate sector. So something like that should be used for railways as well. So this committee will decide. So this committee will decide what will be a better financial ratio. So we'll hear about this soon once the committee comes up with its recommendations. So it says the financial ratio should be representative of the operations. So should be comprehensive, as reasonable and as possible, and least subject to arbitrariness. So it says operating ratio is representative of the operations, but then and comprehensive and reasonableness and subjectivity to arbitrariness actually is not least. So for that purpose, a new ratio is required. Like for example, presently pay commission's recommendation been implemented. So one arbitrary change means it results in the entire operating ratio reflecting something different altogether. So it's not giving a clear picture. That is why this is being suggested. So you can see 7th pay panel suggestions hits the railway. So it's 7,100 crore. This will be added to the railway salary bill for Jan to March period, 3 months period. So that is there. Then this is EBITDA, which we just discussed. Earnings before all this. Interest, taxes, depreciation and amortization. The next news item is India-Germany ratify Social Security Agreement. So this is an agreement which has been undertaken now, superseding the former agreement of 2008. So this was Social Insurance Pact which we already had between India and Germany. So now the provision here has also been included under the Social Security Agreement recently ratified. It will come into effect from 1st May, and this 2008 Pact will cease to be existent. So what was this Social Insurance Pact? The provision which has been added up here is that if a detached worker of the two countries is not required to make social security contributions in either of the countries if he is making contribution in his home country. So in their respective countries, if they are making contributions, so such detached workers need not make contributions, social security contributions here. So social security basically means pensions or such deductions which are done from pay. So those are contributions by the workers. Equivalent contribution comes from the government also in case of India here. So that way, so these contributions will not be, because if that person is working for a temporary period in a foreign country, then when he comes back, what happens? So that is what we are demanding. This particular news is important because even we are demanding at WTO, Trade Facilitation and Services Agreement. So this we have proposed formally at WTO now. So we have already discussed that in detail in news. So this is a bilateral agreement. As long as there is not a WTO agreement, then we need bilateral, multilateral agreements. So that is this India and Germany are having to ensure that workers can function effectively in the two countries. There will be no double social security deductions being done. That is ensured. So this is the agreement here finalized. So this is also another term used is totalization agreement. So totalization agreement means that it will avoid double taxation for social security purposes. Means there also deductions are done, here also deductions are done. So there should not be double deductions because temporarily he is working in another country. So there also, since he is working, deductions would be done. So that is why, to bring in tune the laws of the two countries, these totalization agreements are signed amongst countries. So this ensures that employee does not face deduction both in the home country and the country where he works. Then the next news item is setting foot in deep space. So this is NASA, US Space Agency, which has now proposed, it is considering that astronauts should also be put in its deep space capsule. This Orion is the deep space capsule which is aiming to launch, and it will orbit the moon. So earlier it was only going to be the capsule going up in space, but now they are considering whether astronauts can also be taken on this Orion mission. So in phase 2, it is expected that maybe this is called Exploration Mission 1. Orion's first test flight is this, which is scheduled for 2018, but it is expected to be unmanned. But in EM2, Exploration Mission 2, that will be Orion's second flight. It would be an 8-day mission in 2021. So there may be plan that astronauts will be sent on this Orion. So it is a space capsule. So this would be also the first time that a space capsule would be launched at such height. So you can see it at such distance. So it will fly farther than any spacecraft built for humans has ever flown. So this will be Orion's achievement. Plus also it is said to stay in space longer than any ship for astronauts has done without docking to a space station. So ISS is there. So that is docked, a space station docked. This will be without docking. It will stay for the longest time and return home faster and hotter than ever before. So it will return home faster too. So this is the advanced space capsule which NASA is building, Orion. You can see. The rocket which will be used for this is Space Launch System, SLS, which is being developed presently. This is its spacecraft to the moon. So it may send astronauts to in its second mission. You can see. Then the next news item is the last one. Dietary prebiotics may improve sleep quality. So prebiotics means dietary fibers which are naturally found in foods like raw garlic, onion, artichokes. So these are vegetables. In these dietary fibers are found. So they are called prebiotics. So prebiotics means they will serve as food for the good bacteria inside the gut in the human body. So this help in promoting the gut health. So these are called gut health promoters. So the benefit of these is in improving sleep quality too. That has come out through a research now. So they say that these dietary prebiotics can improve non-rapid eye movement as well as rapid eye movement. So rapid eye movement, non-rapid eye movement are sleep patterns which are there. So after a stressful event, these are disturbed. So when these are promoted, it helps in recovery from stress as well. So this is what it says. Improving sleep quality and recovery from stress is possible if dietary prebiotics are taken. So there are terms. Probiotics, I suppose you must have heard of too. Prebiotics and probiotics are different. So prebiotics, right now we discussed, are dietary fibers, food. So these are food for the bacteria. So as you can see, it's mentioned here that bacteria digest these prebiotic fibers. When they digest, they multiply and improves the overall gut health. So this is the prebiotic food for bacteria. Probiotics means live bacteria themselves. So probiotics are active bacterial cultures. So like curd, etc., where live bacteria are present, they are called probiotics. And symbiotics means a combination of both prebiotics and postbiotics. So that is it. These are the news items for today. Thank you.